Signals in the deep, markets never sleep. Whales move silent, but we speak. On-chain truth, no disguise. This is Leviathan, open your eyes.
GM fam, today is Friday, June 27th. It is 7 a.m. Pacific time for a llama party. If you're new, llama parties guys in any remote way with the amazing llama community that we've built up at this like little tiny slice of crypto that's doing really, really big things. So if you're new to llama parties, we usually have guests, and we will invite the guests to come, usually talk about their projects. And this week we decided that we try something a little bit different. We decided via the amazing and gorgeous Leviathan News website. And you can see that the llama party for this past week won by nobody. So the winning hash was 0x000000000. Don't think I got a point. Which means if you are able to verify that you can create the private key, which hashes to 0x and then 32 zeros on this week's llama party. So please submit that cryptographic proof, send us a message, and come join us on stage here. If you'd like to join next week's llama party as the guest of honor, which is going to be on July 4th, so it could be a big one. I know about a third of you are international, but here in the US of A, we celebrate a very big holiday with lots of explosions and fireworks on July 4th. So that could actually be you if you'd like to join us. Until then, of course, this hour is saved for 0x000. And one thing that came out from talking with a lot of you is we didn't quite realize how much a lot of you appreciate doing these llama parties. Initially, I thought, hey, nobody bid on it. That's your way of saying, hey, Garrett, shut up. We don't want to hear from you stuff. But as it turns out, like, no, you actually, you really like particular this hour. What I really like about this hour is that actually we do stream at 7 a.m. Pacific time. Then we just lead right into Noah, aka Captain Rational, does a star afterwards. So it's like a solid morning of programming, or afternoon, depending on where you are, evening. And yeah, there we go. Let's so we don't feel quite so alone. Let's go ahead and bring up the chat here. As it points out here, llama parties are great, and really just in particular, we thought, hey, this is kind of a big day set up here. I think, yeah, we want to do this because we want to actually be monitoring. There's another very big auction that's going on right now. It's set to expire in about half an hour. So we're hoping to be able to keep the llama party going all the way through this half hour. I can't find a good screen, so I'm just going to do it like this, and we'll just pop up comments as you guys make them. That way I can actually like filter them in advance in case I stream some profanity on here. Now, in particular, we thought, hey, day off, that's fantastic. I could use a chance to hit the gym, shower. People around me would really appreciate if I did that. But it's been a kind of hefty week for the Curve community. Now, of course, to do with the Resupply hack. Resupply was benefiting Curve, but yet there was all sorts of FUD flying around, and having having done llama parties for years, while there was nonstop FUD about Curve, I thought, kind of like when I thrive, like this past 6 months or so, when Curve's been doing great. People didn't need any like Curve boosterism, but there was a lot of demand for like, hey, this kind of sucks. This doesn't feel good. So I think we could all use some fun. So grab some, grab a beverage, because a party is more fun with a beverage. I'm going with water this morning, and we're going to solo stream. And I'm going to try and make sense of everything, apply in a lot of depth. And you might be wondering, how is it a llama party if it's just one person? Well, that's and if you're expecting there to be more than one person at a party I'm hosting, you don't know.
So we mentioned that there's currently a live auction we're going to be streaming, and it's been pretty competitive. In fact, it started bid at about 2,000, and it's currently going for 16,000 right now. And what do you get with this? Well, you get the Squid Pass. And we'll talk about the Squid Pass a lot later, but there's many reasons why it's, which is that QR code in the upper left-hand corner is a permanent QR code with Leviathan. Whoever wins this auction, once they send us the link, this QR code is going to automatically update with the winner of the Squid Pass. That's just one of the probably 6 valuable things that you get for buying the Squid Pass, which is a complete bargain. We're going to talk about that a lot more later. Just wanted to shout out to Alice Rosengarten is commenting that it was a bad day indeed. Mish's eating llamas are working overtime today. Everyone at Curve is working overtime today, but in fact, the Curve team is at the Stable Summit today. So in fact, if you are looking for some Curve boost, don't want to just hear me like yap to myself for about an hour, I would urge you to check out the YouTube live stream because there's a ton of alpha, a lot of info. I haven't gotten the chance to see them all. But first, I just want to give shout out and propers to the current holder of the Squid Pass in the upper left-hand corner, which is AIOZ or AOZ. Probably seen AOZ. They're like are on page 2 on CoinGecko. So they're very honored that they've in fact won so many of these Squid Passes. Basically doing DEPIN, decentralized personal ID. They've got a whole complete framework for it, and it's really slick. And in particular, if you click on this QR code Discord, and one of the things I really appreciate about the AOZ community is they got a good Discord. I like a lot of things. They're powering AI compute with their decentralized S3 object storage, great. But when you were doing crypto and it was like the bull market, I know many of you are way too young to remember that. There was all these good vibes whenever you stepped in the right Discord. Like I remember in particular, I thought this about Olympus, and actually maybe there's a bad signal if I'm talking about why Olympus is because saw the Olympus kind of sat DeFi winter out. But when you walked in the Olympus Discord, you just saw all these really cool channels, and it felt like a party. They had like all this like intellectual, like a book club, which really appealed to me because I told you about how I party style. And the Curve Discord was another one. Curve's Discord is pretty quiet, but they had like a channel dedicated to advanced math, so you can really tell the value of it. AIOZ or AOZ QR code is streaming directly to the AOZ Discord. So join it in there, chill time, fun party. And doing so helps Leviathan, which is one of the best things you could do to buck up morale around the Curve community. We actually had a nice chat with the AIOZ bidder yesterday, and one of the things that they noted is that they're just going to keep bidding on the Squid Pass. So I don't know if I can't read addresses yet well enough to know. I don't think that's actually them. They generally are the high bidder with 30 minutes to go here on this Squid Pass. No, I'm pretty sure that's a new bid. We'll see if anything else comes in. Have been bidding on the Squid Pass several weeks in a row because they get amazing value out of it. I mentioned that there's like 6 reasons you might want to bid in the Squid Pass, and we'll go through those in a lot more detail later. But if you actually have bid on the Squid Pass and realize that you're getting access to, amongst other things, you get access to this QR code, which sometimes our live streams really pop. Today it's just me, so I doubt it's going to pop. But last week we had 100,000 people watching it live or something crazy, maybe 10,000. It also gets you access to Telegram. We've got a thriving Leviathan News Telegram channel with news sourced by the community. That's 15,000 followers on X. And they mentioned they really like the X engagement because we kind of punch a little bit above our weight on X. Our website is in detail along with some plans of where it's going next, just to get you excited. But that's at the end of the stream, so you got to stick around. And then we also do some really sophisticated wallet level analytics, and we'll get into what that looks like a little bit later. But there's just a ton of value. So, and we'll see winning. But I realized that yes, there is some information asymmetry here. So essentially, there's a few bidders that recognize this value, and they're going to bid high, and everyone else is kind of interested, but they don't know the full scoop, so they're bidding Cosm for crypto because if you look at the valuations of nearly any crypto token, they all seem to suffer from this like of information asymmetry. And I think it's one of the most interesting phenomenon plaguing crypto, because I'm a big believer in the free markets hypothesis. I think the markets, when they are left to their own devices, accurately reflect all the available information within the market as best as possible. And I think they generally are break down a lot in crypto. I noticed that a lot of the projects I follow in crypto are, I think, just incredible projects that are rev world. And for some reason, they seem to be highly undervalued. You'll notice it's like amazing project and their price won't budge. So I really think that information asymmetry is one of the interesting like biases that affect all the crypto markets. And now you might compare and contrast this with normal markets. Let's say like the normal markets are, let's call it like all the markets regulated by the SEC, for example. And this is actually an advantage. Like this is why we have a Securities and Exchange Commission, because they have insane requirements if you're going to get listed markets, for instance. But there's a fairly nice outcome, which is like if you are looking to put some money in your 401k, you know where to look. You know that you could just pull up the latest SEC Reg D filings, and you can actually like get hundreds of pages, sometimes thousands of pages, like detailed financial statements about all these companies. It's like a singular destination where you can get all the data you might want at your fingertips. With crypto, there's this interesting phenomenon where there's a lot of asymmetry. So you actually, if you want information about a project, where do you go? Your first bet is probably DeFi Llama. DeFi Llama is where we'd recommend starting. It's fantastic. And you're going to get very, very good info. But one of the things that we saw in the wake of this resupply hack is that like DeFi Llama is fantastic, and by all means, you should make it your homepage. But we're looking to try and see what happened, and it didn't really show up. And that's just because they're like, as good as it is as a good way to do research, if you're like a day trader type person, you might not be able to information. And you know, I don't anyone do like up to the second trade. Have to watch out for. P.S. Shout out to the 100 Yap Live on X. I think you're probably here to hear about resupply. So we're getting that in a second. I promise. Take care of this. Get this to all of your llama friends so we can actually like talk in depth with resupply. But first, we're just talking a bit about information asymmetry in these markets. So you tried by llama, you get some good info. But where does the and you know, places, places that nearly everyone says to look at is X, and for crypto information, but it's got a lot of biases. So first of all, you're at the mercy of the X algorithm, which is definitely rewards controversy, let's say. But you also have to remember that once anything's been posted to X, it's already priced into the market, right? Like that's not, people come and like posts, and then they'll post it to X, and then it goes a lot shady. And if they're trading on that info, it's already priced in. So you're too late. You're at the bottom of browsing X. Now you could still be ahead of nearly everyone else, because you actually, like, if you're following the feed of any project you like very closely, you probably know more about it than just the casual user of X, because only certain things bubble up on X, and like sometimes you look at it and the post will disappear. If you really want the complete, nearly always the best place to do it is like if you are going to be getting like a load more information. So if you're kind of breaking down very, very loose diagram to show off how I see this phenomenon playing out. Let me try and drop this. All right, so like totem pole that you can look at in terms of like where you can get the alpha if you are like in crypto. And at the absolute bottom of the totem pole is monitoring the situation. If you're spending all day just browsing through your feed, probably at like just about the bottom. And I'm putting X at like because like maybe you're like monitoring a feed directly, but you can get like a tick above that if you're in the project's discords and telegrams, because these Discords and Telegrams generally will have like an overwhelming chat, which most people don't have time to follow. But if you just keep up with that chat, you're in great shape. So like it goes like, just messing around on X is maybe the bottom. Your step up if you're like following a project really particularly on X, and the step up is if you're in Telegram. By far the attack is to build something great. If you can develop something amazing, like you have people coming to you and saying, hey, this is pretty cool. I think that what you're building is great. We'd like to like work with you. We'd like to sponsor it. We'd like to figure out how to work together for the builders. Now, I get that maybe 90% of you aren't builders, and I don't recommend you just take ChatGPT and try and vibe code your way to something. That is probably a pretty terrible way to do it, because if you're especially handling customer funds and you're relying on ChatGPT or Claude to code it for you, you're probably going to get wrecked, and you're going to get a lot of users very wrecked. So you should not do that. And I can confirm that this is not how Resupply did it. I promise we're going to get talking about Resupply soon. Can't code, but you'd like to be somewhere on this list, maybe below build something great, is there's still a lot of tasks that you can do to help out a project that you like that fall a little bit below building something great, which is just adding as much of tasks that are not development related that these projects need. And if you start showing up in the Discord and in the Telegram and adding value to the project, all of a sudden they are going to be saying, hey, this curve cap guy is pretty useful. He's might be an idiot, but he's like helping out. He's doing a lot of cool stuff. Why don't we try and do something with him? And then all of a sudden you find yourself getting added to all these different groups on Telegram. And I bring this up because Telegram is basically like where all the alpha happens, but it's not necessarily in the public Telegram groups. Like everything I've noticed is that Telegram makes it incredibly easy to spin up a group. And this is just how humans associate with each other. Like you get a quick working group together. And as a result of how easy it is to spin up groups in Telegram, you're always going to have an exponential number of groups compared with the number of like people in your project. So if there's just like 5 people in the project, there's a lot of permutations for how these 5 people can all arrange themselves into like different groups. And you want to be sensitive. You're like, oh, like I don't want to like bother them with too many things. Like this just for like, there's 5 of us, there's only 3 devs. So let's have the 3 devs in a group. And then this group concerns this and that. So there's tons of like sort of like Telegram groups, which is actually the brain trust of Twitter and Telegram, the brain trust of crypto. That's where all the alpha happens, is like you just happen to be in the right Telegram group where people are discussing something. There's hundreds of thousands of groups out there, but like it might be one room and a couple of people happen to connect, and that's the decision-making process of DeFi. And that's the alpha. That's where the power players are yapping back and forth, and that's where the action's happening. So if you want to get into these groups, don't just be monitoring the situation. Build something great. Add as much value as you can, and you'll actually be in the groups where the alpha is happening. And that's the information asymmetry, is that not just like Curve or Resupply just launched this cool feature, but they're going to launch this new feature, and you'll probably like not trade on it. Alice is saying so real on Telegram group. Yeah, like honestly, like the auction channel where you can bid on this QR code is where a lot of the like power players are just meeting as they are live bidding for these QR codes. And let's go ahead and pop back and see how that's doing. It's still OX780A is buying the Squid Pass for $125, an absolute banger of a bargain. All right, so we're talking about this, and we mentioned that if you're a dev, it's kind of easy because you just start saying, "Hey, like I looked at your GitHub, and there's some issues here." But a lot of people maybe aren't conversant with technology, and you still want to add value in crypto, and you want to get to the top of that totem pole. I would say that even if you are not like theoretically like a good developer, there's probably still ways you can show up and add value, even just in this kind of like weird like landscape of fighting the information battle on comms and social media. Because we saw in the Resupply hack, told you I'm going to get to the Resupply hack, and we're inching our way to this point. Like we saw how important like effective comms really are to controlling the narrative, because there was some crazy stuff getting thrown out on X about the resupply situation. That's just not how it is. Like, we'll dive into some of those in a minute. But first, I'm going to like LARP as a social media expert, and you might like observe this phenomenon where like, hey, like Israel's fighting Iran, and all of a sudden people take off their "I'm a crypto expert" hat and put on their "I'm an expert on Iran" LARP. But I'm going to just submit that I might have some bona fides on social media. You might think that that's like kind of like crazy. Like, here's a dude talking to himself. How could he be at all lecturing anyone about anything about being social? And I will confess, like, I would identify as asocial, and I think this is one of my superpowers, and one of the things that makes me most qualified to weigh in on and LARP as a social media expert. And now, notice my choice of language here. I'm not antisocial. I'm not pro-social. I'm just asocial. It's like if you're not moral or immoral, you're amoral. You kind of are in this middle ground in between. And I say this because I've had like phases of my life where in some I had just tons of people in my orbit, and in some phases of my life I had absolutely nobody in my orbit. And I believe that I'm in a situation where I function very effectively, highly efficient in both those situations. I probably do slightly better when there's no one around, but you can also throw me in a room full of crowd of people, and people actually like extroverted, which is not at all like how I'd people's eyes and make them think that I'm like social or anti-social on the situation. So I'm kind of like ambidextrous on this. So I think it's a super, because it means I can kind of like sit back and watch social media sometimes and just like observe and call it like I see it. And I think I got some bona fides, because even though I don't post anything but like idiot takes and dumb memes, I've managed to get like about 20K social media followers. And I also like I think the real like cred that I have in terms of social media is that you're probably familiar with the Kaito Yaps. They completely banned me from the Kaido Yaps program. They're afraid of me. They know that I would win this hands down. I even talked to people at Kaido about this, and they had to invent fictitious reasons to exclude me from the program. So like they're that afraid of my social media posts. And I'm going to like just drop my like this like social media situation playing out, and like my observations as a submitted and received no comments arguing against it. I have some expertise on the subject, and I'll see what you guys think. See what you think about like very loose framework and how I'm handicapping the situation. So let's make this like all like consulting style, and we'll come up with 4 quadrants. And on the x-axis, I'm going to drop this concept of like, is a project legit or a complete scam? Like, I'm going to just say, for the sake of argument, that I believe that any of the projects in the Open Stablecoin Index are legit. I think that these are like projects that a lot of people looked at, and they are pretty amazing. Curve, of course, is the one that I follow the most, and I'm going to go on a limb and say that anyone who's listening to this live stream probably agrees that Curve is a legitimate project. If you don't believe that, you might just be spite watching. If you don't believe that Curve is a legit project and you're watching me, I think you probably got better things to do with your Friday. But yeah. The other axis is going to be, how do you engage with this project on social media, which is that you can support them or you could oppose them. Of course, way more dimensions of this we could get into. I'm just going to be reductive here because I think it kind of makes the case with what I'm seeing going on with Resupply. Because if you are looking at a social media project, like, you know, you might say like, how do I engage with this? And is this a real project or a non-real project? And I think depending on your choices there, you will going to fall into one of 4 quadrants. So if you like find a legit project and you support it, I'm going to call you a booster. If you find a legit project and you oppose, like, I think Aave is a tremendously legit, probably maybe pound for pound, like the best project in DeFi. If for some reason you decide like Aave is great, I'm going to go attack it. I'm going to call you a fudster. In the upper left-hand quadrant, if you find a project that is a scam and yet you still decide to support it, I'm going to call you a shill. And if you find a scam project and you oppose it, I'm going to call you a white knight, or just a knight, because, you know, knights are bound by codes of chivalry. And when I look at this and try and like play this neutrally, like where should you be? This is roughly how I break it down. And let's kind of dive into each of these quadrants in depth. I'm going to start with where I see you can add the most value, and then work my way down to where I think you can add the least value. So I think one of the most productive things you can do if you are a smaller social media account and you're trying to like get some bona fides is find a amazing, legitimate project and become a booster. Because like one of the strengths that emerged from the resupply situation and many of the curve hacks is just how strong the curve confederation is. And that's because it's like got a lot of amazing people who have really tangibly benefited from the ecosystem. And once you start like posting in alignment with these communities, you're going to find amazing things happen. You're going to find that people like you, people start inviting you to the alpha rooms, and in my case, like this goes back to the conversation we had with when Moon's takeaway as well. She suggested that if you are interested in building your social media influence, find a great project, tie your brand to it, and then as it flies, so will you fly. So if you're getting started in social media and trying to figure out where you want to align here, try being a booster. It's really fun. You're going to find an amazing community, and that community is really going to respect you. If you, for some reason, don't want to be a booster, I would argue that you could go to the Knight quadrant. And here I'd put someone like Zach XBT, where you like actively look for scam projects and try to oppose them. And I think it's a great place to be. And I actually do encourage people to do it because our ecosystem needs more of this because there's so many scams. 90% of projects, probably not 90%, but like a heavy majority of projects are outright scams. And yet they are still like, they still have like followings. Like that's kind of like the ironclad law of crypto is like you do something, you build a following. And the reason I don't mention here though, even though, or if you do focus your attention here, consider instead going to that upper right quadrant and being a booster instead of a knight, is because it's really draining work. Like look at all the like amazing work Zach XBT has done, and it's exhausting. And he posts like legitimate on-chain proof that these projects are scams. And he gets all sorts of hate thrown his direction. He got doxxed. He said people sue him, I believe. Like it's like a huge slog. And if you want to go that route, like we are going to, as a community of broader crypto boosters, of course, support you. We're going to feel sorry for you because it's really tough work to do, and we don't envy you. So like we want more knights, but I'm just going to say outright, like, unless you're willing to like sign up for this like impossible journey, become a booster instead. Way more fun, way more upside. All right, the third place you might look would be to become a shill of a scam project. Not a good place to be, in my opinion, if you like have a moral compass, because you're basically looking at something like, let's say, let's take Luna's to shill Luna. I say that this is like there is arguable upside to becoming a shill for, which is that they are going to have a community behind them. So you could still line yourself with, and you are still going to, because they maybe like they're destined to collapse, but they won't collapse right away. Maybe you'll meet some cool friends along the way, and maybe it's like an ease into this group by shilling it because maybe everyone else looked at it and wasn't willing to touch it. So like it's not a terrible strategy to become a shill. And then oftentimes I've noticed like it's the scam projects that are paying influencers. So maybe you just need a quick paycheck and need to shill. Like the good projects usually don't pay influencers, but a lot of bad projects do. So like maybe you can get some money fast. Downside is like when the project collapses, people do remember, and you'll find your way to something. But I've seen the case where like someone's shilling a bad project, and then they're predictably out of work when the project collapses, and they apply to work at a good project, a legit project, and they say, "Oh, I'm not sure. That guy's like he was a shill for Luna or what have you." So I would encourage you, if you're planning on like selling project, like just why not pick a legit project? It might not pay, but what a better way to be. The last one is, I think that this is just a bad idea for many strategic reasons, is to become a fudster. This is the bottom right quadrant. And we will quickly check back in on the auction while we do this. And oh, we got another bid. We got another bid on the squid passes up to $131, 19,600 squiddos. That has extended the auction time by a few more. If you're interested, all the auctions take place on Fraxtal, which is a little confusing for people, but the way that you can get funds to Fraxtal is to go to frax.com. You'll need to have some of the native Frax token that was formerly FXS. You'll need to bridge that FXS token to Fraxtal, and then you'll need to bid on our auction. And there's two ways to do it. I would just recommend bridge some Frax ETH or wrapped Frax ETH. Frax ETH is like an easy way to make sure like you can like bid. You can bid. So if I want to bid on this using wrapped Frax ETH, I would just type my bid price in squid. Ooh, that would be nice. No, just do 19,600. And that would allow you to place the bid, and it's just going to spot swap from 0.055 wrapped Frax ETH, essentially free, into, ETH is worth 0 anyway, right? It's going to swap that automatically into 19,619 to account for possible slippage to get your total bid to whatever that ends up working out as. So you got 1 minute to do it. Good luck. Good luck. I think the winner identified the address looks like the AAA's address might be getting it again, but you got 1 minute if you want to actually do that bridge in real time. So if you go to frax.com, Frax, the financial layer of the internet, the squid pass, and we'll talk about the benefits of the squid pass after the fact. So buy now and then learn what's in the black box later. And it has been extended. OX780A has just knocked it up to got another 5 minutes, folks. It's getting fun. It's now 21,400 with 5 minutes left if you'd like this. Utter bargain. If you AOZ, even if they don't win it, is getting the benefit of the 2 live on X, and it's going to be more because you're going to take a second. If you're not bridging money to Frax to compete in this auction right now, you're probably retweet, sharing it, getting this in all of your go through all my Telegram groups and send a link to this because people might learn something and they might have a fun time. And who knows? Who knows what happens? Anything can happen when you broadcast live. All right, so while we'll check in a couple minutes, see if anyone bids there, and say like, why would you like I said in order, booster is best, knight is second best, chill is third best, the upside. So if you're going to go on X or any place and like just like bring in negative attention, I just don't understand the system behind what you're doing. So I'll try and steelman the argument, which is that like I can see value in picking a project that people like and attacking it. But I think that you have to be ready to pivot very quickly into booster territory. So if you're doing it as a short-term strategy, to say, I'm going to temporarily get attention by taking a legit project that everyone likes, fudding it hardcore, that's great, but you have to be ready to move up to booster territory for the new project. And then it can kind of work. But you kind of have to be careful because if you dip into fudster territory too often, you just kind of end up having no one want to work with you. I don't know. There's just like one random dude, but Kaido thought it was pretty impressive and banned me. So I got that going for me. So what's the upside to being a fudster? So sometime, like, again, I'm submitting that Curve is a legitimate, decent, good project and therefore like highly legit. So if you are in this camp of people that is trying to FUD Curve, don't understand it. But it did seem to happen. And this is, I don't have data to support this. This is like an observational thing. I'd actually like to go back and run this data. Observationally, it seemed like anytime there was heavy short pressure being applied to the during the Mitch liquidation of the prior year, it also seemed to like exactly coincide with when the FUDsters would come out on X. So yeah, exactly. RoboOwn says some FUD to gain a little short-term clout, especially when you have a rival product. Yeah, like that I can kind of see. Like, so I could see the value of being like, hey, Curve sucks, and then just waiting to see who is out there like trying to build the Curve competitor. And then someone's going to want to take pot shots at it because that's the way that the free market works. And then saying, okay, it looks like this new project is trying to compete with Curve, so I'll like glom onto it. You just have to shift to booster. If you start fudding them too, you're just like a negative person. No one wants to be around a sub. But maybe there's an argument that there is such a thing as paid FUD. I don't know. Like, I'm so far in the booster territory. Maybe I just got the blinders on. Maybe I can't see it. Maybe like there are people that get like paid $5 per FUD tweet, and they just like sit there and like wait, and then like, hey, we're gonna try and take down this token, so let's FUD it. So I bring this up because like the resupply FUDsters were out in hardcore yesterday. See, I told you I was going to bring it back to resupply. And as I do, let's swing this back and watch the last minute of the auction here, because I'm interested to see what's going to happen. I'm going to keep plugging AOZ whether they win or not. But it looks like AOZ isn't winning. 53 seconds left, AOZ. OX780A, pop into the Telegram auction channel. Tell us what it is that you'd like us to shout out, so we can shout this out to the now 300 people watching the stream. Thank you. You did your work. You dropped the link in the Telegrams, but let's get it up to 3,000 because we're going to talk about resupply, and we know y'all want to hear that. Last point on FUDsters is like, okay, like it's a terrible strategy, but if you're going to do it, at least get paid. Because if my hypothesis is correct and people are getting paid to FUD resupply, and you're just on there fudding them because you want to like kick a project when it's down, like what is wrong with you? Like, you're just giving up money on the table, engaging in what looks to me to be a severely, in most cases, losing strategy, and you're not even getting paid for it. Like, if you're going to do it, at least get paid. If you're like fudding resupply or any project that, auction is closed. All right, congratulations. So OX780A, make sure you pop your way into that auction Telegram channel and tell us what you're interested in bidding on. We'll update the Squid Pass, and we'll put that, we'll shout you out live because we want to give as much value as we can to you Squid Pass holders. In the meantime, I will try and see if I'm adept enough to yap and also set up the next auction, so that if you did bridge to Frax and you got some Frax sitting there and you got some Frax ETH and you're jonesing to bid on something, but you're listening to this llama party and you're like, no, I'm not bidding on that. Wouldn't touch that. We got to give you something to bid on. So we'll let you bid on next week's Squid Pass. We'll get that auction up, see if we can do it live. But first we want to get into the resupply situation, because we're sure that that's what you're here for. We're just saying, like, if you're out there fudding resupply and getting paid, like, okay, you got to eat, get it. If you're fudding resupply just because other people are doing it and you're joining in the crowd, but you're not getting paid, like, you might want to look at your tactics. It's kind of like a big loser strategy. Like, FUD away, but at least get paid for it, because maybe there's some short interest trying to take down the resupply token. All right, so why do I bring this up? It's because like one of the biggest things that we saw for last 24 hours since this is that there's just a ton of bad information, and we wanted to like call out some of the worst of it. But like with that, like there's also hilarious tweets. One of them that I want to shout out here is Arrow, who recalls the meme, "Don't shoot, I'm retarded." Proof, curve with the resupply hack. And then this has been, in particular, there's been a lot of people that have like levied this against C2TP and Winthorpe. And this is just the absolute stupidest possible take. And it sucks. Like I said, X is like a pretty bad place to get information. It's because like the dumb takes like that get equal weight if you're looking at this and don't have context as the smart takes. But if you're a dumb take, maybe you're like watching this because you want to see more about resupply, and you don't have the context. Like, the reason that it's a particularly dumb take, particular of profiting from this hack, is that if you followed this for any amount of time, there was a time 1 to 2 years ago when we were closer to DeFi summer. Curve had $20 billion in TVL. It was good times. Most of that was sitting on Convex. There was a ton of TVL sitting on Convex. And there's this amazing incident where somebody, I think it was like a auditing firm, was looking at the Convex contracts and noticed a bug. And they noticed that if the devs wanted, they could have actually drained all of the funds in Convex and put it in their personal wallets And this actually would have been very easy to do for the convex devs because the primary convex devs are C2TP and Winthorpe, and they're both anonymous. So they actually could have, in theory, drained billions of dollars into their wallet, stayed doxxed, and that was it, retired to a beach. And in hindsight, it might have been even like a good strategy, except for like having to look over your shoulder all this time. But they could have done that. And what happened was the people who discovered this vulnerability approached knowledgeable people within the Curve community, confessed this exploit. I think it was probably to Mitch directly, and said, like, what do you think we should do? We're worried if we go public, the convex devs are going to like panic that we're onto them, steal all this money. We want to disclose this responsibly. And if it was Mitch, like, I wasn't in the room, I'm not in those alpha chats, but Mitch looked at this and like basically laughed and was like, no, these are not shady devs. They are completely legit. Long story short, like, they talked with the convex team. The convex team realized there was this bug. They patched it. And so instead of basically taking billions of dollars for themselves, they did the responsible thing, protected their protocol, because they saw that the protocol would have much more upside long term. And this was before Resupply was even a dream. So I could forgive you if you're new for not understanding this, but it would be completely and utterly ridiculous if for the convex to be sitting and looking at this and saying, oh, we steal billions of dollars. And instead, we are going to wait for a time down the road when we can steal a few. Still have all the same problems, still have the probably authorities trying to like take you down for the rest of your life, not having an easy doing anything with the money. So it's just a completely preposterous argument if you know anything at all about the Llama ecosystem. But of course, the Llama ecosystem is, we're a small group. Like, even all of you dropping in this in all your alpha chats only got this to about 300 people. So not everyone knew this. Not everyone knows that C2TP and Winthorpe are, and in fact, while concurrently basically like having to go and fight this massive information battle, almost single-handedly, they are fiercely protective of the reputation of Convex and Resupply. So they're having to go on X and fight with people, get death threats. They're having to go into telegrams like the Lobster DAO and like knock down Fudsters. And at the same time, they're repaying this bad debt out of pocket. So last I saw, there's already been like a few $1 million in bad debt repaid, which again just goes back to like how crazy of a talking point it was that we had the like people accusing them of stealing $10 million. So first of all, like, okay, maybe maybe you can go. They didn't know about the hack, and they would have stolen the billions of dollars if they could. But then also at the same time, start repaying this out of pocket. So they're literally like sitting here saying like, let's take 10 million and oh yeah, we'll pay back 1 or 2 the rest of the 8 million for ourselves. Like, no, you've lost the plot. Like, if you're actually honestly arguing this and no one's paying you, stop, log off, take a break. You are so far like off the deep end here, Bones territory. I got this tweet up or X up on screen from Small Cap Scientists, sending out that there's 1.4 million of personal funds to fill an exploit hole. They've already plugged $2 million of the 10 million hole in under 20. This was quoting Leviathan News, by the way. Leviathan News, whoever OX 780A bought the Squid Pass, and like, you're supporting a quality institution that is right in the narrative here. Convex Resupply dev C2TP contributed 1.4 million resupply out of his own pocket, and Winthorpe was the person who just like weighed in on this and said on an on-chain message, that's just the kind of person he is. That's just the kind of person he, like, what a testament, what Chad, Supply founders, and happen to be listening to this. Like, we just want to say, like, we don't deserve you. You guys are like utterly first class. You guys have gone through a absolutely horrendous situation, and you've done the classiest thing possible. We have such utmost respect for you. I'm not just saying this as a RSUP and saying this as a person who strives to remove themselves from the situation. And I think that we are lucky that we have founders with such integrity as C2T plus the Curve team, and just props to all of you. Like this legit project versus illegitimate projects is the illegit projects raise a ton of noise, and they are going to have followers that follow along these crazy narratives that oh yeah, guys are scammers or whatever. But over time, there's a strong llama type people here who recognize you're doing fantastic work. We have nothing but respect for you. If there's any to contribute, let us know. We're here for it. We are legitimately here to do whatever we can. Oh wow, look at that. 18 minutes ago there was repayment from the Resupply devs. So this is live breaking while we're on stream. Convex Multisig is repaying, it looks like 818K. This bad debt is going to be closed very soon. So phenomenal work to see. If you are listening to this, one of the almost 400 people watching this live now, do drop a message in the chat, just expressing how much we appreciate that the team is doing. Yeah, I don't have enough words to say how little we deserve them. So integrity, the integrity of the Convex and Resupply devs is just going back to, in that we always talk about decentralization in DeFi, and we all want to get to centralization. And at some point, for example, the way that Curve governance works is that there is VECRV votes, but about half the Curve is VECRV is controlled by Convex, and so Convex has to vote a little bit earlier. And the Chads, C2TP and Minthorpe control Convex, and they vote regularly on all these things, and votes through and done ahead of time. We'll talk about this in a second. But they always get their votes through ahead of time, and what most people don't know is that it's not actually the case that those votes go through automatically. They have to be done. The results have to be transmitted, I believe, C2TP and Minthorpe, and they could, if they didn't agree with or thought was bad for, no reason that they couldn't, but they do. And I think that just really tests as a testament to the fact that they faithfully transcribe vote to the Curve multisig. And I'm giving Yearn short shrift so that about 2/3 it's 2/3 Convex and 1/3 the Yearn devs are complete better Chads, just complete completely brilliant. They have been working on this for quite a while. They partnered with Convex on Resupply as well, but the Yearn team is just doing fantastic work. Let's see, Wavy I want to bring up. Let's see if I can find that. Wavy being a Yearn dev who is going and putting his name out now and then. But here he is vouching for Wavy writes, this people who take without conscience or remorse, but it also is light. People like C2TP who meet chaos with generosity and character. The Resupply hack hurts, but the now let's build. So amen. You are doing it. You're going to be better to see what happens with RSUP. Not financial advice, but if you are right now, if I haven't actually even looked at the RSUP price, I'm guessing tanked. I'm guessing it would be a great buying opportunity because when you see these things happen, when these things tank, project. I want to comment on Arden's question here, comment here, which is very hilarious because she describes that she's a professional Prisma fudder. It's written in the doc, if I recall correctly. Okay, it's written in the doc. That's referring to Convex transcribing the votes. Alice identifies a Prisma Fudster, which is just going back to this like little matrix, most eloquent thing, but my handicapping of what is a like where should you align yourself on social media? And Alice is saying, well, I identify as a Fudster, but I would say that's not actually accurate, because if you look at this, a Fudster is attacking a legit project. You're in the night territory for sure, because Prisma turned out to not be legit. They rugged. So we needed people like Alice to call out and say, yeah, Prisma kind of sucked. So it's night territory. It's not fun to do, because I'm sure that like you had a lot of people attacking you for it, and I'm sure it like caused massive stress. We all thank you for calling out the bad projects, because we do need that. I just say, if you want to make your life easy, if you want to do the right thing, if you want to do the right thing, you're aligned along this way, along these axes. You're in night territory, just like, sure, you can call out the bad projects, but why not like support the good projects? Like, that's way easier, and you're going to find a better community. So that's what I wanted to say. Some of the other effects on Curve. There's actually a really good write-up in the Leviathan News Substack about this whole situation. I'd encourage you guys to read that. Just really good stuff always coming out of the Leviathan News Substack. This is written by Kirian, who's been churning out some bangers for the Leviathan News Substack. Basically talking about the resupply thing. Your tell that I didn't write this is it was mostly focused on the resupply exploit, and it goes into really good detail on what specifically happened, the mechanics of it. I wanted to so your tell about this that I didn't write it is that there was no talk about the effect on Curve. I'm a big Curve maximalist. As many of you know, I literally named myself Curve Cap. So we saw like just a quick update in the like to add some color to this article on some of the situation and how it played out through the Curve ecosystem. So the Resupply REUSD market cap, as you might imagine, took a tumble. And just real quick, I wanted to fact check myself. RSUP did not take a beating. It doesn't look like. Looks like maybe it took a little beating in the past 24 hours, but it was kind of down and it just went up. So I think people kind of got the message that, yeah, RSUP's legit. It's a good project. It's going to be here. Oh, wait, this is market cap. Okay. My mistake. So yeah, it was $1.60, dipped to $1.28. It's already back up to $1.40. So someone bought the dip. Maybe it's going to go a little higher. Robo weighing in, Stream Valid Critics and Fudsters. Yeah, exactly. We got you, Alice. We got you. You're our knight, and we respect everything you do for the space. Just quickly, while I let's take a look at REUSD, and here's why it was on market cap, is I was trying to take a look. So this is kind of brutal. REUSD was at 120 market cap, and in the wake of this, dropped very precipitously, around 75 million. So it's about USD that disappeared. The effect on the Curve ecosystem is pretty much the exact same. Sad to see, but the USD was, and then yesterday went down to 110 million. But here's where like things are pretty, if you're a Curve maximalist. So this value here is like 35 million disappears in the market cap of crvUSD. And you might say that like it makes sense that like not all the REUSD is going to disappear. Some of it's locked up in different places. crvUSD. crvUSD very quickly bounced back, because when these things happen, as they always do, it has a massive effect on the rates. So we can't see what the historical rates were very easily. Maybe we can actually. I can pull up some of the Llama Air Force or other things to look at the historical rates. But just in the absolute like immediate aftermath, get this open here. crvUSD. In the aftermath, the borrow rates are now kind of around, in some cases, 12%. But basically, like the borrow rates like went a little bit haywire for a second, but there was anyone else's stream connection off. Yeah, I'm spitting too much truth. Whenever I spit too much truth, problem that the authorities try and take me down. They don't want this much alpha out there. Ooh boy. if you can't, even if you can't get good stream quality, Alice is just recountation, and I feel that's really bad. I'm not going to read it out loud because it might, maybe people can't even hear me anyway. It's choppy here too. I guess it's probably my cue to log off, because if it's choppy, I'm probably not getting through to people. Have had so that's fine. I talked about like REUSD, and if you are like watching this and you're like, hey, it's kind of choppy, I'm not getting good alpha out of it, like just go back and watch the let me pull up the link to this. There is much better watching in that you can just watch Stable Summit. Like Stable Summit is by far the highest signal to noise ratio on this entire like DeFi ecosystem. So here, leviathannews.xyz, it's the second item on the list right now. Stable Summit 2025 Con Day 2. So like, basically move from that first one to that second one. I haven't watched it yet, but there is a presentation I'm led to understand by Michael Egorov himself about yield basis. So I'm really looking forward to watching through that one. And then I'll just wait 5 minutes and you'll be able to watch Noah Seidman streams at 8 a.m. Pacific time. But I do want to take the last 5 minutes, however choppy it might be, just to talk about, like, you probably noticed like the massive trauma going on in the Llama Land liquidation markets this past weekend. You might have missed, because it's like much more flying under the radar, a sort of smaller incident on Llama Land. And I'd like to spend a few minutes talking, because I think if you're following Leviathan for any amount of time, you probably like interested to know what's going on here. And this was covered by us in a hyped for yield basis for sure. This is covered by us also on the Leviathan News Substack, so check this out. We kind of had like a mini resupply type situation where we're DeFi natives at Leviathan News, and we like to play around with especially the projects that we like. So one of the things that we did was like we launched this token on Fractal, and we've been like trying out different DeFi applications with it. And one of them like collapsed horribly. So we had a Llama Land market, and there were even some people that were borrowing against it, myself included. And I'll talk about my experiences maybe today, or maybe can tell me if the connection recovers. But basically, like there was like borrows in that market, and the borrows were way more than the pool. And was a smart traders saw this and went through, swiftly wiped out everybody, and Squid token took a little bit of a beating, which is following a lot of the auctions that we're doing, because a lot of the auctions are priced in Squid, so you can basically get on some of these auctions. So our chart kind of looks similar to these other things, where this is actually market cap, but we'll do price, basically the same thing. So things are going along, and all of a sudden, some people came back and bought things up. So like, what does this actually mean for Leviathan? It means nothing. Token is it's like our experiment reward token to people who are contributing to Leviathan ecosystem. Has a number of places that you can contribute and step up and earn Squid. The news side, talking with Aoz, who was the previous winner, it's clear that like a lot of people don't realize like all the cool things you could do in Leviathan. So in my opinion, the best 24/7 breaking news feed of anyone else out there. And it's because it's entirely crowdsourced. We pay out this Squid token to people who submit quality news, pipeline by which you can actually help us curate, proofread, QA the news, fact check it. Make are doing that, then you can earn a lot more Squid. But even just submitting the headline gets you Squid. And the reason I bring this up is because I was saying like, hey, we got some cool news. Like we got some people asking how can they get their news on the Leviathan feed, and we're like, there's a disconnect because we're paying you to submit it to the Leviathan feed. In most cases, like bringing this matrix back up, like in most cases, if you're trying to shill your project or if you're trying to boost your project, you get a chilly reception. So if you are going, if you're in the shill or the booster or even Knight or Fudster, it doesn't matter. If you're trying to get clout for yourself, usually like you post something, you say, hey, curve to 1 million, and people say, go away. but if that's actually a good article, we'll pay you for it. So it's the exact opposite reception you will get from nearly any Telegram group. Instead of saying that's against our terms of service, that's banned, we're going to say, yes, thank you for the spam. Thank you for the FUD or the boosting or the shilling. Rewrite it this way and you'll earn more squid. So check it out. Leviathan News, 100% quality information and service. Yeah. So basically, like the effect of this past weekend, like an allocation of like who has a lot of squid, that allocation's been shaken up. So we're like taking some time to figure out like how can this new, let's call it like governance, how can this new governance like best curate Leviathan News going forward? And it's completely open. We're building in public here. So we haven't yet set up our formal DAO, but Leviathan News is basically governed by the Squid token. And until we actually set up the formal DAO to do it, and we've been pumping the brakes on it because we want to do it safely. And this past weekend showed why, because before this was happening, we were actually looking at building wrappers by which you could use your borrowed squid in Llama Land to also be in governance. And this past liquidation collapse shows what a terrible idea that would have been. So we're working with some people, not going to dox anyone, but like some very smart people who have like basically like after all this collapse, they just went and bought squid in the open market because it's so stupid cheap. I'm not going to lie, I bought some myself on the open market, and I'm probably going to buy some more. So this is fair warning. The way that we're setting it up at the moment is we have like we're going to like push all this on chain, but we're going to like do it in a methodical process. We're going to get like everything right. And until then, we're just basically like approximating it with the council. Token gated group. It's actually not yet token gated. I'm going to set it up this weekend using the same token gating stablecoin index. We're going to set up a token gated group by which if you have $1 million, or sorry, not it, and this would be 1 million squid just sitting in your wallet, or 1 million squid in any of the Curve LP pools on Fractal, or it could be 1 million squid in Convex, or just sitting in the Curve gauge, or divide it up amongst all of them. We're ignoring LlamaLend for the time. We don't want people using that LlamaLend pool until we've been able to clear up the bad debt, which for how Leviathan as an organization is going to tackle that. I wish we were as swift as not, because we're poor. C2TP is rich, but we do expect to be making some moves on that front. But just bring this up that if you join this 1 million squid council, right now it's just one vote per person in the council on all the matters of import. The matters of import are essentially like how do we determine the monthly 1 million squid emissions we give out to people who are contributing to the Leviathan News ecosystem. It controls a very small treasury of like $2,000. What do we do with that treasury? So this kind of council is set up to manage those things. So more, just you can go to, we have a Curve pool. The Curve pool did its end of the bargain. It did what AMMs are supposed to do, and it just did a fantastic job of basically like absorbing. And we set it up with really interesting parameters. Back in the day, Naga King was working for Curve, and he had actually done some research on how to set up a pool to handle meme coin style trading, and the pool did its work. Like it can, let's just say, so you could see like it. The price history of this LP token was like, many months where we are now. Then it kind of shot up when the LlamaLend pool liquidations went in, it crashed hard, and we kind of recovered to actually above where we were when this whole incident went down. So big thank you to the people who saw the buying opportunity. If you want to join that 1 million squid club, it's only 4 ETH to do so. Like when I talk through next week Squid Pass, or we don't, or actually someone already been the Squid Pass, but assuming we can't get a guest to show up, I'll actually go through next week and just go through in depth some of the stuff Leviathan is building and where we're going to and some of our capabilities, because some of them are actually mind-boggling. When you talk about the Squid Pass, like there is, by my count, let's pop them up on screen here. There's different tangible values you get for buying the Squid Pass each week. So you get the Telegram pin post, you get the X pin post, as well as engagement there. And we punch above our weight because while the X Leviathan stream only has like 7,000 followers. I have like something followers, and I usually retweet the Squid Pass because I want to support it. You get the QR code on the live stream, and this QR code is cumulative. This QR code never changes. It just, you can always you could print it out, put it on your desk, and scan it and say who won the Squid Pass, and it'll take you to, right now, AOS, but once it gets updated, it'll be something else. The more of these QR codes that exist out there, the more value the QR code's going to have. We put it in all of our live streams, and sometimes our live streams do very well. But this means actually, like, if people are going back and watching past bangers, and you won the Squid Pass for the week, you just get the Squid Pass for that instead of pointing to an ancient link. So that's kind of a cool conceit. The website's where the locus of a lot of the attention is happening. I mentioned you could post news, and the way to post news right now is through our Telegram bot, and that helps to filter out a lot of stuff. As of this weekend, we're going to be deploying where you can actually just go and deploy news directly from the website. That's going to help get a lot of signal through. After that, we got some cool stuff we're building out in terms of comments. That's item 7 on the list. And the commenting is going to be done in a way that also adds value to the Squid Pass. And we're very excited to show off what that's going to look like. But I'm a back-end dev, so I only have like backends. And when I show people screenshots, they are just like, this is ones and zeros to me. So I'm going to show off how the commenting looks, maybe, if, knock on wood, if we don't have any more generational collapse again this weekend. Maybe we'll have that in time for next week, but stay tuned for that. And then the analytics report I want to shout out because we've developed some sophisticated on-chain tracking capabilities because we have this Leviathan token. So we roughly know who has heard of Leviathan, and we can also say who has heard of AOS. So like, it's still like completely anonymous and in keeping with this kind of character of keeping blockchains relatively pseudonymous. But the tracking that's enabled, most people aren't doing. And we actually think that this is going to be the killer feature of Leviathan in the medium to long-term basis, is the ability to do wallet level analytics and tracking on users. So it's one thing to say like, I used to work in advertising, so I know all about this. Like, it's what they say, like, we got this many clicks and they came from this, and that. There's so much fraud though. Whereas we're going to have like by far on-chain level tracking pseudonymously of wallets, and how they're engaging with ads. And it's going to be bananas. And we're going to be able to provide the best and most robust on-chain data for this because of some secret sauce Leviathan's got. So pretty good stuff. If you're excited by any of this and you want to learn more, get involved in any of the Leviathan channels. The Leviathan news feed is on Telegram. LeviathanNews.xyz's got links to all of them. It's the best place to go. A lot more coming to LeviathanNews.xyz soon, and we'll be looking forward to talking about that in much more depth in future live streams. But I did it. You guys didn't think I was interesting enough, and maybe I was, maybe I wasn't, but 476 of you are still here after an hour. I'd encourage you to go pop on to Noah's live stream because Noah is goated. I don't know how he does this, but he does 2 solo live streams per week. And they're very good. They are very, very good. So I'm just going to actually just go ahead and retweet his so that if you are following, you will hop onto his. Q&A with the captain just went live. He is able to like get into like all the charts and all the trading stuff, which I don't touch. No breaks, no drinking water. Exactly. Noah's just like the greatest of all time live streamer. So I every now and then I pop on and I try and do an hour live stream just to remind myself how good he is. So everybody check that out. It's on the my Extreme Curve Cap. Like, feel free to drop them in chat. I'm pretty approachable. I'm easy to get in touch with. Would love to Leviathan, anything we're building with the stablecoin index. There's just been so many amazing projects coming out. It's been an absolute blast to get to work. Appreciative that we're in an environment where builders, especially US-based builders, can, at least for the time. So I'm going to keep going back to building. Today I was supposed to be doing so. But Squids, thank you. We'll catch you all on the next tide.